and welcome to the first of two lessons for today. We're going to go over function graph characteristics. Now, we've actually already gone over a few of these things, specifically domain and range. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this graph today, and we will go over the domain and range of this as a little bit of review, and then we'll talk about four new characteristics: increasing, decreasing intervals, positive, and negative intervals. All right, here we go. So first off, we know what domain and range is, right? We've told this a lot. Domain is the set of all x values for a function, while the range is the set of all y values of a function. Focusing on just these two for now, let's go with domain first. When we're talking about x values, notice that x is controlling the left and the right. So the furthest left is right here, this first blue line, and the furthest right is right over here. Now, the furthest right this goes is 11, but what about the furthest left? What would the answer be here? Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, isn't it going to be -1 because the point is at -1? But isn't this the set of x values, guys? Remember, we're only looking at the x-axis. So the furthest left is going to actually be 0. So the domain here is going to be 0 to 11. Why don't we take a look at range now, where we talk about y values instead. So let's draw our lines, the highest and lowest points, because y is up and down. Here's the y value on the top, and here's the y value on the bottom. This one's a bit more obvious, in my opinion. Look at the lowest value, this line that's going through it. It's clearly hitting -1, right? So the lowest is -1, while the highest is 1. I'm going to set this as an inequality this time, where y is greater than or equal to -1 and less than or equal to 1. It includes those values, right? There's dots there, but it's between -1 and 1. And that's everything that's new, but that's old, not new, old. Let's go over something that's actually new, okay? Increasing and decreasing intervals. So increasing intervals are actually just whenever the graph itself, the slope is going upwards. So an example of that could be here, going upwards, or here, or here. These are all increasing intervals. So if I was asked, hey, what are the increasing intervals here? Let's take a look. If for the first one, it goes from here to here, so I can just draw some lines to keep track of that. And it clearly goes from 0 to 2. Let's try the other one. Let's draw a line here and a line here. And that's clearly going to be from 4 to 6. Notice for intervals, I'm not looking at the y-axis at all. The intervals are based on the x-axis. So once again, for the next one, it's going from here to here, which is 8 to 10. And so there are 3 parts where this is going upwards. So there's 3 increasing intervals, right? Try to be a bit careful with this because you're not looking at the y-axis. I was talking about you only use the x-axis. Think of the x-axis as a timeline for your intervals. Now, let's do decreasing intervals. If you're at all thinking of this logically, if increasing intervals is when a slope goes upwards, then decreasing is when it's going to go downwards. Right there. So, one part would be right here. One part would be right here. And one part would be right here. And if you're wondering if there are any other times besides increasing and decreasing, the answer is yes. Remember those moments where a line just like is completely horizontal, it's a flat line? That would be increasing nor decreasing. But regardless, there's also 3 decreasing situations. The first section right here in the red, it goes from this 2 to that 4. So it's 2 to 4. And the next one goes from 6 to 8. See that? So it's 6 and 8. And the last one's really small. It only goes from 10 to 11. But now I have 3 decreasing intervals. And notice each time we're just counting the endpoints right here. And that's increasing and decreasing. Should be very straightforward. Just increasing, when does it go up? Decreasing is, when does it go down? So now we're going to talk about positive and negative intervals. The last characteristics, ladies and gentlemen. This one's probably the trickiest of them. Positive means when the graph is above the x-axis. Here's our x-axis, the line that goes right through it. So the interval graph is above the x-axis. So an example would be right here, or right here, or right here. So these 3 parts when they're above the x-axis. So an interval for this would be from right here, 1 to 3. The next one would be right here, from 5 to 7. And the last one's right here, from 9 to 11. So it's just these three parts right here. So now you're probably wondering, well, no, hopefully you're not wondering, what could negative intervals be? And negative intervals are just simply when it's below the x-axis. That's all there is to it. So right here, right here, and right here. All these in red are all below the x-axis. So you got to be careful here because once again, when we talk about the interval for the first one, it's not going to start at -1, right? The y-axis is at -1, but the x-axis is at 0. So it's a negative interval from 0 to 1. And then there's another negative interval right here, which is 3 to 5. And the last one is right here from 7 to 9. Now, that's just slowly going over these. I don't think it's actually too hard to just look at these graphs and notice when is it above the x-axis, when is it below the x-axis. I want you guys to start thinking of these less as like numbers and more as pictures, okay? You do define them with numbers, but when you're just looking for places that count as positive or negative intervals, you're just looking as if it's below the x-axis, so on and so forth. If you have any questions, please ask for help during class or during the office hours. Otherwise, you have one more video for this homework, and then you're done. You guys have a good day. Bye.